Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Internet Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George. Very good evening.
It's Sunday the 28th of April 2013 and it's a bit of a miserable day out, a bit overcast, a bit grey, very rainy. But we're glad to be back in the studio.
It's just your windows. You want to clean them out.
Yeah, I know. That's a job for the summer. We'll have to get back to that. Right, Steve, on with the communication channels.
Okie dokie. If you want to give us send us an email during the show or during the week, info at OYMIreland.com. We also have the chat facility on the website as well. So depending on what stream you're listening, you could be listening on a TNS or the UWS stream. If you want to join in the chat, where you can ask questions, you can pose questions to our guests or ourselves. It's OYMIreland.com, and then on the left-hand side of the page, you will see, click here for a live chat. It couldn't be any plainer than that. You can click in there, you can log in with your real name or a pseudonym, and you can, Alan's playing with the buttons here. I'm getting louder in my own headphones.
That's okay.
That's perfectly acceptable. I'll have to turn it down now. So you can chat amongst yourselves in the chat room. You can also, if you want to communicate with us via the landline, you can
give us a call on 046 927 1212.
046 927 1212. If you're ringing in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 in front of that. Alan.
Okay, Steve, right. Our guest on tonight is Tony Z and Kate of Gaia from Syncrenicity Radio. And we'll be chatting to them about everything and anything that's going on. They're obviously involved with the alternative media, internet radio station as well. So loads of information from Tony and Kate. We'll bring them in a few minutes. But as usual, we have a few things that we're going to talk about.
Now, it wouldn't be us if we didn't.
Yeah, it wouldn't be us. That's just part of the show. What can I say? Right, what I actually got to see during the week, Steve hasn't seen it yet, was the new Stephen Greer movie, Serious. That's the name of it.
Are you serious?
And I'm serious. It's called Serious.
Seriously?
And I'd recommend people go and, see it, or if you get a copy of it, or buy a copy, whatever, have a look, and then make up your own mind and see what you think. I had a look at it, and I thought, I was expecting a bit more. There was so much kind of hype regarding the movie, and I was a little bit disappointed. I was expecting to see a lot more than what he did.
Do you reckon it might have been maybe toned down, and maybe there was bits left on the editing room floor? Because remember we did hear a couple of weeks back that maybe Mr. Greer may have been gotten to, and I'm just wondering, like, maybe the best bits were left on the editing room floor. What do you reckon? I mean, was it kind of same, different day kind of stuff? Was it stuff that we already knew, or did you learn anything new from the movie?
Well, see, at the end of the day, somebody talking and telling you things are going on is hearsay, and it's admissible in court. So, basically, you had Stephen Greer and one or two other people saying what's going on. And, yeah, okay, they did present a body, and I'll just say a body because I don't want to spoil it, but they did present a body that was not human and said, look at this, and they're experimenting on it. But I was expecting to see alternative energy, hidden technology, proof that this technology exists, and see it working. And we didn't see any of that, so I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't see any of that. And all we see is people talking and him telling what he was doing and what he's been doing, but no real evidence, to be honest with you.
So I'm guessing, like, for the man in the street who doesn't know Stephen Greer or anything about the Disclosure Project, it would probably be a bit of an eye-opener, but for people who are further down the road, like yourself, and possibly myself and our listeners, it's probably not going to rock their world.
No, I don't think it will. I think for people who are new to it, it probably will rock the world because they'll be amazed. But for people like myself and yourself who've been involved in this a number of years, it's not really exciting, It didn't do it for me anyway. Maybe other people it will, but it didn't really do it for me. I'd rather see the evidence. I'd rather see proof, and that's what I thought we were going to get with this movie. But obviously, a documentary. But
I think that's what we were expecting. I think when we heard about this movie there last year, or possibly before that, when the whole talk about the movie came to be, it was kind of it was going to be recommended as the movie to the Disclosure movie to beat all Disclosure movies. I was expecting, bear in mind I still haven't seen it yet, but I was expecting a lot of revelations and a lot of proof to be laid in front of you, irrefutable proof. But you're saying that wasn't the case?
Well, I have information that we received from Dr. Carol Roslin, which I'm going to read out shortly. But over to you, and tell us all about your Fianna Fáil information.
Yeah, I tell you, Facebook, you either love it or you hate it. I use it. I know exactly what the Facebook game is, so I play very carefully and I play my cards, keep my cards in my chest. But there's some information that appeared on Facebook this morning. I can't say because I can't remember. It's not that I'm hiding something. I can't say exactly where it came from, but there was a picture. Anyone who's familiar with the Irish political system will know that one of our parties over here is Fianna Fáil, or Fail. It's actually spelt F-A-I-L, but it's pronounced Fáil. It's a Gaelic word or something like that. But seemingly they have these meetings every so often, and you have the old Fianna Fáilers who are in power or who are kind of high up on the food chain, and then you have the young Fianna Fáilers who are the kind of the blow-ins or the new kids on the block, so to speak. But seemingly there was a meeting during the week, and one of the young Fianna Fáilers that was there, he threw a euro coin, I believe, at some people there who were demonstrating, and he was quoted as saying, "Here, do you need the money?" Now, I mean, that's not best practice for any political party to do something like that. But this is the mindset of the ignorant, elitist young thug. I actually don't know the chap's name. So there was a picture on Facebook, but his name wasn't there, and I wouldn't be too familiar with him anyway. But God forbid that he and his like are ever return to power, because they're not in power at the moment. I think it's Fine Gael and Labour who are in, but Fianna Fáil, like they be classed as the opposition. But if they hopefully they're not returned to power anytime soon, because remember this, the person will no doubt be canvassing for either himself or his party in the not too distant future, and I think we are going to be having general elections in 2014. So anyone who comes across that post on Facebook, or sees the picture of the chap, just spread the news around. I'm sure he's in someone's constituency, and next to then again, what could happen? He'll go canvassing for votes on the door, and people start throwing money at him. That kind of sounds like a win-win situation, doesn't it?
Well, that's if they throw money at him. They could throw something else.
Yeah, they could, I suppose. But yeah, that was a good one. But anyway, and continuing on to speak about Fianna Fáil, this week the Fianna Fáil continues in its attempts to hypnotise the public into forgetting who put them in this position in the first place, i.e. the austerity that we're going through, because when all this kicked off, Fianna Fáil were the governing party at the time. So one of their elite chaps there, Mr. Michael, what's his surname? I can never remember his surname.
Michael Martin.
Oh, Michael Martin. Or Micheál Martin, sorry. Micheál Martin. Have to give him his proper Irish pronunciation. Micheál Martin. Yeah, he actually was quoted on record this week as saying he's opposed to legislation, repossession legislation, or to the household tax, and that he will vote against it. But then again, as we said many times on this programme, that they'll say anything when their back's against the wall, and they'll pander to public opinion when it suits them. But once the tables are turned, they'll do a 360 anyway, and they'll completely do whatever the hell they want, or whatever the party whip tells them that they're supposed to do. So yeah, best of luck there, Mr. Micheál Martin. Don't come knocking on our door, because we won't be throwing money. We might throw something else at you. But there. That's about all I have to say on that matter.
Right. Okay. We got an email, or just a Skype message from Dr. Carol Roslin, and for people who are interested in the bigger picture regarding ufology and UFOs, this is what Karen had to say. Now, I just noticed that some people are saying that they're not getting any sound on the OYM player. So if you're having problems,
check your hearing aid.
Check your hearing aid. And we do have two other players, TNS and obviously UWS are running as well, so try that. We will try stop the player and start again when we have a little bit of a break, and we'll do that and try and get it sorted. But Dr. Carol, the message from Dr. Carol Roslin, she sent over this. She said, the Brazilian Ministry of Defence establishes a channel of communication with UFO researchers unique in the world. For the first time in history, a Ministry of Defence of a country has officially invited UFO researchers to discuss the UFO phenomenon. how to handle its investigation and the information it may come from it, and that may come from it. The meeting happened last April 18th at the Brazilian Ministry of Defence building in Brasilia, the federal capital, and over 20 people took part in it. On behalf of the Minister of Defence, the Ambassador, his Secretary and his associates received the Brazilian Committee of UFO Researchers, CBU members, to discuss the subject. Present at the meeting, that lasted some 75 minutes, were also present several representatives from the Brazilian Air Force, Navy and Army, all subordinated to the Brazilian Ministry of Defence, and who were asked to fully comply with the ufologists' requests, which is good to see.
Wow.
I am very happy to announce this information to the entire world UFO community, as it is the result of my colleagues and my efforts at the Brazilian Committee of the UFO Researchers CBU to make the UFO phenomenon a clear and public issue in Brazil. The Brazilian UFO disclosure is a direct result of our strategies in the last years, so the above mentioned campaign and the Brazilian Ministry of Defence meeting is a recognition of that. So basically the Brazilian MOD are taking the UFO subject very seriously. And Carol and her team are cracking on and doing what they're doing. They don't want to have space weaponized, so they're doing what they're doing. But if Brazil is one of the BRIC countries, remember, as well, and the BRIC countries have now, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and their BRICS countries are actually coming out on their own and they're setting up their own IMF as well. So Brazil is obviously one of the BRICS countries, and maybe this is part and parcel of the start of disclosure for other countries as well. Once they see one or two countries coming out and talking about it, maybe it'll just be like a domino effect and they'll all start coming out and releasing more and more files.
Except Ireland.
Ireland?
Well,
yeah.
you can imagine the Irish government looking, shouting a message into space. Is there any intelligent life out there? And then you have some space creatures, if you like, looking back at the Irish government going, oh, there's no intelligent life. There's no intelligent life in their government anyway, so let's leave Ireland alone.
Well, they'll probably have a look at the doll, and they'll probably go, no, there's no intelligent life there.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, how's your week, Steve?
The usual mix, you know. When you've won the lotto, every day becomes the same. You know, you just go spend, yeah. Which, no, as I was just saying to you there before we came live on air. Hopefully she's not listening because she'd be embarrassed if she is. But I was nobody listening would probably know except for Alan and our two guests for this evening. But I was running a little bit late. I was a few minutes late getting up the mountain this evening because I was having a very intelligent conversation with my sister. She was down for a quick visit today, and between one thing and another, I'm always getting into trouble with my lovely wife for I'm always saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, and it aggravates my sister because I'm always I'm always from the truth side, you know, and what I've seen and what I've researched and, you know, seen with my own two eyes, heard with my own two ears, etc. And as much as I don't force my opinion down my sister's neck, I do get a little bit of a kick out because sometimes I will say something to her and she just goes off on one, and, you know, it's a bit of crack, a bit of friendly banter between siblings, I suppose. But we were talking this evening about the property tax, the LPT, the local property tax, and we were just kind of shooting the breeze, and she went on one of her little rants. But I was kind of surprised it was from the other side. It was like as if she was beside me, she was on my side. But instead of approaching it from the other corner, she was kind of standing beside me, and she was kind of regurgitating some of the stuff that I had said, both to my father and to her at different times in relation to this property tax and how I felt about it. But I'm not saying she's a convert, but she has started to kind of look at both sides of the coin, if you like, as you know, instead of just looking at the one side. And even when she came out and she said she was quoting somebody that she works with, were saying that there was an article in the newspaper, and I can't remember what the article was about, but my sister said to me, imagine that, people reading these articles in the newspaper, and you expect the newspaper to tell you the truth. I was gobsmacked. I was gobsmacked.
Is that right?
Seriously. I mean, you could have... I was gobsmacked, because normally she'd be the kind of person who would read the newspaper and whatever's in there, it's the truth. Anything that's not in the newspaper, it didn't happen, or it's not truth. And we were also discussing as well about Mr. Kenny, or Taoiseach, or president, or depending on what country you're in, he'd be the equivalent of a president. He's our Taoiseach, and he was at a meeting there during the week in one of the colleges, and all the students there, I'm not sure if he was giving a talk or a lecture or exactly what he was doing, but the students turned their back on him. They just turned and just completely turned away from him. And even my sister, she was discussing that as well. And you can understand why I was late, because I was absolutely gobsmacked at this revelation. So Karen, fair play to you. You're starting to wake up, and long may it continue, and hopefully you'll be able to wake up other people as well. It can be a lonely road, it can be a tough road, but when you start getting halfway down that road and you meet a lot of like-minded people, it's a nice road to be on. It really is. What else have I got to say? White Rabbit. There was a video flying around during the week of the Spaniard. I think we spoke about the Spaniard before on this show. He's an ex-banker, and he kind of reveals a lot of what goes on in the banks and various, about your mortgages and your credit card and the SPVs. And then he makes phone calls, and he'll stay on the phone for a long time with these people from various departments looking for answers. Of course, he never gets them in the end, but he's an absolutely fantastic guy. Don't have the link to my hand at the moment, but I can try and get it, the link to his latest video, but it's very, very good. That's White Rabbit, the Spaniard. And what else? The last thing that I wanted to mention is, for a while there, I thought the old chemtrails had left us for a period of time, but they were back during the week again. And I have a picture on my phone. I must actually get it taken off the phone and get it to Alan to stick up on the gallery, because Crown Copper, you're absolutely right. We should get him on as a guest. We should definitely try and get this chap on as a guest. There's no reason why we shouldn't. No reason why we can't. Because he likes being on the phone and he likes talking. But yeah, the chemtrails, they're back, and I work in Dublin, and where I work is in around the Blanchardstown area. And I swear to God, I was looking up at a checkerboard during the week. They were kind of going in both directions. It was actually like, for anyone who remembers noughts and crosses, that's exactly what it was like in the sky. I just mentioned to one or two people, as I do, just to test the water. So what do you reckon they are? And you get the odd person who look and go, it's just off the airplanes. And I go, no, but Jesus, that can't be right. Look how close they are together. And if that was a plane, they must have just barely missed each other. But you kind of kick it about for a minute. And as I said last week, it's planting seeds. That's all I'm doing now. I'm just kind of planting seeds, watering them, and see what comes to fruition. But I did mention to a couple of people during the week while they were visible, and they were for several hours. I think it was last Thursday. But yeah, people are starting to wake up, and thanks to our good friend down in, I believe it's Wexford, Terry. Terry is doing his damnedest to wake people up as well, and fair play, and keep it up. And that's pretty much my week. I watched some other videos as well, the YouTube stuff and the educational stuff, and I'm not going to go into it as well, but I watched some more another documentary on the Boston bombing. It's not a video, it's kind of still photography, and it's frame by frame by frame, and there's a chap, and he analyses it, and you can clearly see from the angle that it's definitely a setup, definitely the all false flag. And when you see his evidence, it's irrefutable. You just you can't think it was anything else. And by the end of it, he says, when you see the army going around with the local police, he says, here's martial law, here's what we warned about, starting to happen. Anyway, how's your week?
How's my week? Well, just a couple of things, as usual. It's good that you had a few things going on there. Watching, I know you're watching more, you're more focusing on the Boston bomb thing. I've kind of moved on and just kind of said it's a false flag, and then going on other stuff. But
as did I as well, but I still, there's a few people, as I mentioned, that I work with, and they're adamant, and they will put on the boxing gloves and get into a ring with you to fight their corner, that it was these two young fellas, these two blokes, they goddamn terrorists. And I would just like to have you know, the ultimate, I think I have found it with this video during the week, but I want to have the ultimate piece of evidence where I can go, well, listen, that's what I've seen. Have a look at that. And if you still think after that it was those two guys that done it, well then, your head's up your backside.
Well, Crown is looking for a link if you have it there. But during the week, okay, a quick RIP to Jim Tucker. We're sorry to hear that Jim Tucker's actually passed away. Jim was the guy who was really involved with tracking down the Blinderberg group and reporting what they were doing since the 1990s. And he had, apparently, the Crown Copyright said here that he died from a complication after a fall. He was 78. Now, I remember reading a book called Them, and this reporter was doing his bits globally, but one of the interviews he did was with Jim Tucker and talking about the Blinderberg group, and Jim has been doing it for years and reporting on it, and I think it's down to Jim's work, to be honest with you, that there's so many people active looking for the Blinderberg group when they have this meeting once a year. RIP to Jim there. He's in a much better place at the moment, and probably all looking down at us. The other thing that I'd just like to touch base on before we bring our guests in is that we were we joked once or twice about the selling of OYM and people being interested in OYM. And
we got a price.
Well, there was a request last week in the chat about OYM. Have we been approached to sell OYM? And no, we haven't been approached. We've had no offer from anybody. We were only kind of throwing it around and messing with it, you know. I was asked if I had any idea also who robbed my antennas and cut my cable. But they would be happy to come up and have a serious chat with this individual. Oh yeah, I told you about that. That was the chap last week. He wanted he offered his services to come up and have a serious talk with them. But yeah, we were only kind of joking with kind of selling OYM. But we did get an email in from a guy called Bert, and all he said on the email was, "Sell your goddamn station." That's all he said.
Clearly he's American.
Yeah. So
because if he was Irish, he would have said your bleeding station.
So I'm playing word games. So I sent an email back on why. So I haven't heard back from him yet, but he kind of Bert, sell your goddamn station. So no, we're not going to sell it. That doesn't make sense. Why? Give us a reason why.
If he gave you a couple of million little reasons, how about that?
Yeah, obviously, then we'd have something to talk about. Then we'd have to do something from there. Yeah. Okay, we're going to bring in our guests. Now, the guests on tonight's show, we have Tony Z and we have Kate of Gaia from Syncrenicity Radio. Good evening, Kate and Tony. How are you doing?
Clearly they're not doing too good.
Yeah. Kate and Tony, are you there? Let's see, are they still with us? Kate and Tony? We'll have to find out what's going on there. We're not getting any audio for some reason there.
Try that.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That will.
I do apologise. When I was searching for that link there to put up for Crown Copyright, I didn't want the YouTube videos to start playing and then come over the audio, so I just muted. I muted the audio. I'm guilty as charged. Sorry.
Oh, you just can't get the staff. You just can't get the staff. What can I say? Okay, not to worry. Tony and Kate, good evening to you. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all, Alan. Good to be with you today.
Brilliant. And Kate, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and that was Tony Z. This is Kate of Gaia.
Good evening. Well, good evening to both of you. Now, before we're getting that swimming noise again from Skype. It's yeah, there it is. It's gone down a bit now. That's quite good. Now, before we actually get in and start talking about Tony, what you do, Kate, what you do, and obviously Synchronicity Radio. Obviously, the fact that I'm calling you Kate, but they're hearing a man's voice might confuse some people. So, Kate, do you want to kind of give us a heads up and just explain why?
Oh, okay. Well, it's pretty easy, actually. I'm two-spirit transgender. Kind of got best of both worlds, if you know what I mean. So it is what it is, and yeah, it's by the time we get into this a little bit, you'll have a better understanding of where the perspective comes from and why it actually is a rather interesting, important, and different perspective. Give you something else to look at it. The shows that I host are called Outside the Box, and Tony does Cosmic Blueprints on Critical Mass Radio. I was going to say Synchronicity. That's our website.
Okay. And obviously, you've been involved a lot in the dealing with the law and all that. I know we've talked before on radio shows that you've actually really been through it. You've seen it done. I have the T-shirt. Before we go over to Tony, do you want to give us a background and how involved you have been with this?
Oh, absolutely, no problem. For those that may have seen it, I am the entity that is in the Judge Bows to Sovereign video, as it was so eloquently put. Here, I've got to read the post. It was a fascist book post. It came from Randy, and I thought this was a rather eloquent way of explaining it. So what Randy wrote was this: remember, names or the name are titles. Titles imply ownership. Ownership determines liability. Liability determines who pays or performs. Clarify who owns the name, and you'll know who's liable. It's not you. The name was given to you. If you didn't create it, therefore you don't own it. If you don't own it, you're not liable. I wrote friend Kate Renee, and listen to her message. She's the first and only person in history who made a judge stand up and bow to her, then abandon the bench. And that is a fact. I have never seen anything quite like it anywhere else on the internet, or anywhere else for that matter. So if you want to get a bit of a background on the, quote, boy mode version of me, just Google Judge Bows to Sovereign. I think I own about the first 30 to 50 pages of Google on it. So it's a rather busy little video. It's been seen by countless millions.
So the judge bowed to you?
Yes.
Wow. That has to be a first.
Yeah, and an only. It would only happen once. And that, for me, was a major pivotal point. And, of course, that was just the beginning of my, quote, woes, unquote, with how dangerous the information I've been getting out to people has been, up to the point of kidnapping me at gunpoint in 2012, February 11th, 2012. Guelph Police, in cahoots with the City Hall and the Newmarket courts, the Guelph courts. They're all jurisdictional anyway. And you name it, all down the list. City Hall, the newspapers, everybody was involved in this, and they SWAT raided and sold my home. Destroyed my family, stole countless possessions, basically rendered me homeless, about minus 20 that night, Celsius, and nearly froze to death. And what you're hearing now is the net result of their mistake. And you're going to hear a lot of stuff today, probably for the very first time. I'm going to say hi to those tuned in on TNS. I was a host there for a couple of years with Ben. And, yeah, hi, everybody. Tyrannosaur, rock and roll, baby. Outside the box then, it's still outside the box now, just a different platform. You know, rose by any other name, still a rose. Outside the box is still pretty, and it still smells great. Okay,
excellent. And Tony, just give us a bit about your background and how you got involved in this as well. And obviously then we can talk about Syncrenicity, the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, a little bit about me. Started out life as a carpenter. Did loads of carpentry work on building sites and all that sort of stuff. And then just sort of went through various stages of finding out bits and pieces of things and learning how to do some large-scale researching.
Tony, there's a bit... Oh, that's it. It's gone now. I was going to say there's a bit of noise coming back in. Kate, can you mute if Tony's talking and vice versa? That's great, thanks.
Oh, I am muted. That's okay. I only unmute when I'm talking.
Okay, no worries. All right, Tony, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I started to do lots of research and got quite good at researching subjects. Then I started to look into the questions of free energy and what's really going on in the world. That led to a massive uncovering of lots and lots of information that I know for a fact people ought to be able to have access to information, because information changes the whole perspective of the world that's around. So I decided to write a book, Blueprints of Cosmic Consciousness. That book now, it contains, it's a bit like an interactive book whereby people can read a paragraph, and then what I actually do at the end of the paragraph is I provide a link where you can go and do some detailed research on the actual subject that I'm talking about. And it just works through lots and lots and lots of subjects, and it just uncovers the information behind the truth.
Okay, I do believe we have it available on the site. If we don't, because we did the new site, we'll get it back up there, but definitely was available. Just say, Tony, I don't know whether you heard that. There's like a fan noise starting up and then shutting down every now and again. I don't know whether you're near a computer or something.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, do you hear?
Is that any better?
Yeah, do you hear that? Do you hear that noise in the background? It's like, it's spinning up.
That's his computer.
That's the processor. I'll see what I can do about it.
Yeah, if you can, that'd be brilliant. Yeah, sorry to our listeners for all the kind of noise in the background. It's just we have
special sound effects.
Special sound effects added in for your pleasure. These things happen. It's technology. What can you do? Ever since Bill Gates took over Skype, it's gone downhill big time. Plus, we found out during the week, obviously, sorry, Kate, that Bill Gates was one of the bondholders that was bailed out.
Imagine that, yeah. Wow, that's why he was over here.
Well, you know, he had a hard time there. You know, I think he could only afford the newest Ferrari, or the not quite newest. So, you know, I totally understand the bailout. And we're going to get. That's what I want to get into this evening with you guys. This is the only story I'm really talking about right now, because the only important thing that needs to happen at this point in this game is for everyone to wake up, and you're all sleeping and you're all causing your own woe.
Yeah, definitely. Did you just switch off your mic there, Kate? Are you there, Tony?
Yeah, I'm here, Steve.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alan.
Yeah, okay. No, we're just having...
yeah, there's a problem with the call. It's just that we're trying to get it back. Obviously, Bill Gates must be listening.
Yeah, Bill Gates must be very annoyed now, because he must be listening in and heard Kate trying to tell us stuff there. But, Tony, you're okay. You can hear us okay, yeah?
Yeah, perfectly clear. Should be a better sound on this end as well now.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, it is. Kate, if you just come in when you can, if the quality's... if it goes down, as soon as you hear us, just come back in with what you have to say. But Bill Gates, obviously, who now is the owner of Skype, funny enough, he was part of the bailout package. He was one of the bondholders who got paid off. He was over here, had a meeting apparently with Kenny and Gilmore. And, I mean, poor Bill. I mean, he doesn't have 2 pennies to rub together. So, I think we need to have a donation fund set up for Bill Gates, because, the poor guy must be really struggling now with his 64 billion, Is
that all he has?
That's all he has. The poor guy. Anyway, Tony, I'll just actually check. Kate, are you back? Okay, we're just having problems.
Keep an eye on that.
Keep an eye on that. Tony.
Yes. Hi.
Okay, yeah, now, your book, we had your book on the website. We're going to try and get it back up again if it's not there. We think it is there, but if not, we'll get it back up for our listeners, because obviously you gave us that to, you let us put it on the site for people to download and have a read. But what's happening your end? What's happening? Is there any news your end that you've come across on your radio show? Any information that you want to tell us about that people need to know about?
Well, Alan, there's constantly information that we're coming across. It's not a situation whereby we've learned X, Y, Z information and it's finished. Because once you start going into these research topics, you find out more information and more, and you just keep adding to the amount of information that you know. And there is no end to it. It just carries on and on and on. So there's constant information coming out. And Kate and I do a radio show on Critical Mass Network at the moment. And that goes out, well, basically nearly every night. And every night we've got something extra, some late news and information to bring to people. So it's a constant evolution.
Right, okay, yeah. And where can people, if you want to obviously tune in to the show, where do they go, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, the best thing to do is to head for Syncrenicity. And there we've got links to the radio shows, we've got archived shows, we've got a chat room there, we've got lots and lots of information. People can also get the book from there under my bio, I believe it's called. And yeah, it's all on Syncrenicity. That's where it's happening, folks.
Okay. Now, you're back, Kate.
Yeah, I was going to do my own disclaimer. Get used to this, because I get hacked a lot. Skype gets knocked out. I've been knocked off the air many, many times because of the things that I share. So pay attention to their fear, me. I love it.
Your audio's fading as well.
Your
Kate.
audio is very low, Kate. Are you there?
I'm here. It doesn't surprise me. I just muted when you guys said that. So let me bring the microphone back up a little bit.
Yeah.
That help?
Yeah,
there you go.
Okay. Right. So carry on what you were saying. You wanted to talk about something you were saying.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle today to get the audio out. Yeah, listen, guys, there's some very fundamental things that you need to grasp from a very different perspective. And the truth of the matter is, you are committing fraud. That's how the courts own us. They get us before we even set foot in the building. Why? Because we were born with original sin. That being a social insurance number is one example. But I'll tell you, you don't own your name. You never did. You didn't come up with it. See, there's a difference between me and everybody else. Well, not everybody, but I took my own name. It wasn't given to me. I chose what I am to be referred to as. So it's not a legal name, and anyone that changes their name and decides to do it legally are morons, because you actually had the key to getting out of the game, but you chose otherwise. Unfortunately, with legal, they have you convinced that you need a piece of paper to walk around on this planet when you don't, because the only piece of paper that was ever given to your mom and dad, not you, was a birth certificate. It's the only document you will ever receive from them. Every other document you have to go and get. You have to aid and abet in your own fraud, in as much as your mom and dad sold the name called registration. The word register is two words. There's much more to it, but here's the basic on it. Regis is Latin for to rule, and stir, any word with stir in it, like bow to stern, it's about ruling the feminine, guys. Any word with stir means divine, creative, feminine, spiritual essence. That's the divide and conquer of the human spirit. Your spirit, your divine feminine was stolen at birth, but it was given away, free will consent by mom and dad, who thought of your name. They brought it in through the ether. They got together and decided, if it's a girl, it's this name. If it's a boy, it's this name. So the decision and contract was made. And of course, the church owns that contract via the marriage, and of course, the state if you have a marriage license. So there are a lot of little tricky loopholes here, but they're all uncovered. And I'm going to show you how you can find yourself finally for the first time in your life. You are not the name. It's a piece of paper. The document that was given to your mom and dad to proof the sale, i.e. certificate, that's what certificates are, they're money, is the proof that they sold you, literally, into slavery. They didn't know they were doing that, and of course there was non-disclosure, so there's fraud on both sides here. I like to balance things out, so it's not about, he said, she said, I'm blaming you, and I'm blaming me, and all the rest of it. This is about bringing it into balance. Actually, it is about blaming yourself and them, bringing it into the light and seeing where you can neutralize it. So with that name, what happened was mom and dad aided and abetted you into fraud by calling you that name that they sold, lock, stock, and barrel, to the church state, crown, state, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't care. I call it the dark principality, because we're dealing. I'm coming at everyone right now with a very spiritual lesson. This is not physical. This isn't done with a document. By the way, the word doc means penis, phallus, just like palace, which is phallus with a silent H, right? That's why they live in their penises, their obelisks, and all the rest of it. This is all about Osiris and dismembering Osiris. That's what the story's about, guys. You got to start looking at it for its metaphorical nature, not the literal. If you're watching the literal, you're still in kindergarten reading books for fun. I choose to read them for knowledge. Now, what happens when mom and dad call you that name, you take it upon yourself spiritually that it's yours, it's mine, I own it, it's me, it's who I am, it's what I am. And then, of course, with the birth certificate, you can't get any other contracts, applications for identification without it. Go and get a passport without one. You see, what they need you to do is to willfully admit that you're committing fraud by using a name that was sold, intellectual property, to the Crown. It says right on mine, from Belfast, Crown copyright. Mine means they own it. So I can't make any false certificates with it either, such as driver's licenses and mortgages and any contracts you get into within the legal system, bar society, if you will. If you're playing in the courts, you are already lost before you get there. That's why you're lost at sea. You don't know who you are. So hopefully by the end of this, you will. Or at least if you can come to terms with the truths I'm about to unveil for you. If you can handle it and put away your feminine emotion and start getting your masculine intent back in line with it, right? Once you get this concept, you'll be fine. And it's not about, I need to go out and do this, that, and the other. No, you just need to get this. That's all you need to do. You just need to get the concept. Concept with God. 7, okay? Creator, with Creator. Get with Creator. Whatever you want to call it. And it's most certainly not some gray-haired guy in the sky with a penis, because I'm not sure why an omnipotent being would need a penis to begin with. And I can't remember the last time I heard of a birth, baby being born through one either. So they kind of got that whole story backwards. The divine feminine is creation. That's why they had to steal us to rule the feminine. Register. It's a spiritual contract.
Okay, and when you say they, which is something that we can bring Tony in on as well, when you say they, who are you referring to?
I refer to the dark principalities, the ones that are actually ruling the meat sticks below them. I'm not talking about your bankers and your kings and your queens. I'm talking about the energies that are controlling them, the unseen ones, the watchers, the ones that I have seen. Okay? Those are the ones I'm referring to. Those are the bastards I'm after, because they enslaved humanity via the DNA a very long time ago. Right? They threw in 250 genomes just to make damn sure. And DNA is energy, people. It is creation. If there's one thing to be gotten from the movie Prometheus, have a look at the destruction of the DNA at the beginning, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. I'm not going to come at you with light, airy-fairy concepts, people. I'm going to come at you with some cold, hard truth, and I'm going to tell you in a way I love to share so that it gets into your noggins. I'm going to paint some pretty cool pictures for you, and you will choose to see them or not. The fact that you do not see something is not because you don't that you can't. It's because you don't want to. So what we have to do here is we have to put aside our swords and beat them into plowshares. And by that I mean we have to stop being the fist fight or the carry out the dead and hold the light instead. Okay? They want us being belligerents. You see, when you're here it is, Alan. Let me ask you and Steve a question. If I started writing checks on your bank account.
There's the audio gun again.
There's the audio gun. Well,
you're back. You're back. Yeah, you're back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This one's for you, Alan and Steve. If I was to write a check on your account, what would you think of me?
Well, I wouldn't be too impressed, put it that way. I'd be wondering...
Well, neither is the Crown, so maybe you should stop doing it, yeah?
Yeah.
You're committing fraud every time you use a name that doesn't belong to you. And the only spiritual power you're putting into it is that intent. The masculine to rule the feminine, got it? Mm-hmm. You're putting the intent into owning that name. It's my name, and you will fight to the death for it. Look at all the movies, right? I'm defending my name and my honor. Oh, fuck, cry me a river, will you? It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper, people. Okay,
so what's the... Well, obviously we know about the straw man, but what's the story with the likes of parking tickets and all that stuff?
It's all fraud. It's all fraud. And that's what I'm working on right now, a document that will be referred to as unclean hands. And what we are doing is walking around. You should read the unclean hands doctrine, and you'll start understanding what you're doing. You see, because anyone that thinks they can walk into a room where they change the rules at their leisure, which they do. I spent 28 days in solitary proving that, but nobody fucking listened. I don't care. I learned, I listened, and I'm going, not going to play by their rules anymore because they don't. Why should we? Right? This is where I make my own rules up now. This is where I become creator. This is where I am God because I was told so. God is light year God. Some cool cat a couple of 1,000 years ago, you might remember, said something to that effect. He also said, and you will do greater things than I. And I'm thinking, you know what, JC, I'm all over that shit. That's exactly where I want to be. Okay? Now again, look at the Bible for what it is. It's an allegorical, metaphorical writing. It's not literature. It's not literal. It is meant to be read with eyes to see and ears to hear. I'll give you an example. The wife must be subservient to the husband. Sound familiar? Boy, if you take that literally, you've got yourself a second-rate citizen, and I hate using that word. I'll just use it because it's common speak. What you have is created the woman or the female as a lesser than the male. The wife must be subservient to the husband, like she's some sort of slave to him. No, let me tell you what it means. Anything in the Bible or the Vedic volumes or the Quran or any of these books, the Talmud, all the rest of it, when you understand that anything feminine is relating to the emotion and anything masculine is relating to the mind or the mental, you start getting a better handle on things. So let's say it again. The wife must be subservient to the husband, which means the emotions must be subservient to the mind In short, get a grip. You see, because when you're emotional, what you're doing is you're outpouring the feminine energy that is out of control. Right? That's what emotions are. How many times have you got into a debate with someone over something absolutely stupid and trivial, and there goes the female aspect, and it's creative. Oh boy, you let creation go, it'll go woohoo. That's the order out of chaos thing, okay? And we're trying to tell you something as well. I don't look at the Illuminati as my enemy, and I don't look at them as my friend. I look at them as both. What am I to see? What am I to learn? So I'm not going to divide and conquer humanity by looking at one human differently than I will look at myself. There's the biggest trap right there.
Okay. Well, listen, Kate, I want to go over to Tony and just ask Tony on what his take is on who they are. So, over to you, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that again is another part of the journey, because that needs to be asked. We've woken up and we found ourselves bound by all of these laws and regulations and legislations and, all of this stuff around us. And we go, well, hang on a minute, where did all this come from? And who's responsible for putting it there? So the first bit of the journey goes into the laws and, what's a law? Is it a statute, apparently, that's given the force of law by the elected? That's where your questioning starts, and you go, well, who's the elected? And you think, well, politicians. Then you start looking into the voting process and to find out that they're actually not elected, but we think they're elected. In other words, we go along and vote in this thing called, a ballot, if you like, and they just rig it and do whatever they want to do, but they appear to put a face on that you made a decision to pick the ones on the left, the right, or the middle. The reality is there's a shadow government behind the government, and the politicians are just the puppets. Politicians. So, and then you go, right, okay, so who's running the shadow government? And that's where you start with going, well, hang on, where's this money thing come from? Well, it's by it's been owned and operated and run by the banks. Well, who owns the banks? Well, that's actually Rothschilds and, the Rockefellers and these elite families. Well, who are they? Well, they're actually Bilderbergers, etc., that are very powerful people and get together and hold these meetings, and they're controlling a lot of this corporate stuff, because we find out that it's based on corporate law and paperwork, basically. So then we start looking at, right, well, in that case, then, what about this situation with war, and why are we at war with these people? And that's, it comes out that war's a distraction, and that basically they're keeping everybody perpetually fighting everybody else so that they can run off they can send millions and millions, they can basically make loads of money in armory, weapons, troop movements, and keep everybody fighting, so we're perpetually distracted with each other, fighting each other. It's the Christians, it's the Muslims, there's always division everywhere. So then we start looking into it a bit further. Well, who's behind, a lot of the armament industry? Well, that turns out to be the Vatican and the Crown, and, and that's where we start getting into the shadow government thing. Because this is the biggie. The big step comes in, you mentioned Sirius earlier. The big step comes in when you realise that the shadow government is being run by corporations and legal fictions, if you like, that are way above, that are controlling this planet. And the fact is they've got incredible technology that is phenomenal. And I mean phenomenal. I'm not just talking about UFOs. UFOs is just a very baby step. You need to take it much further than that. We're talking teleportation, we're talking faster than superluminal travel, we're even talking time travel stuff, and that's where it really starts to lose people. But that's the reality. So there you go. That's the they we refer to, or different levels of the control structure. And each piece of that is a piece of the puzzle. And you have to look at each piece before you can put the puzzle pieces together to get the picture.
Definitely. We've always said that about having it's all a kind of geopolitical jigsaw. And when you start, if you look at things in isolation, it's very easy to say, I don't believe that. But when you start putting it together like a jigsaw, you can see how all the pieces start fitting with each other. Now, one of the things that one of the people we were going to try and get on as well, and Tony was trying to get this lady on, which we said last week, was Tammy Pepperman. And Tammy Pepperman deals with the OPPT, which is, it seems to be doing the rounds at the moment. So we hope to be doing that.
No, she doesn't actually. Tammy and I do our utmost to shred that nonsense.
That's what I mean. When I say that,
okay. Just want to be clear on that one. That is a carrot of carrots.
Yeah. No, Tammy, when I say the OPPT, I mean Tammy is the one that's saying, don't go for it. It's a pile of poo, and you're going to get yourself into trouble if you do that. And it's one of the subjects that we were going to, which we want to get on and have a quick talk about as well. But what Tony was saying there about the technology that's out there and the whole jigsaw and what's happening at the moment, and this is why I was said earlier on the show about the serious movie that Stephen Greer did. I don't know whether Tony or Kate, whether you've seen that, but I was very disappointed because I was hoping to see some of this technology that Stephen would actually come out and go, this is what the powers to be have been hiding, and this is what they don't want us to know about. But he didn't do that. I don't know. Have you seen the movie, Tony?
Yes, I have seen it, and it's another dead end.
Yeah, I didn't rate it. Kate, have you seen it?
Yep, I saw it, and I just saw it as another attempt at putting out information without information actually being in it.
Yeah.
It was a waste of time, personally. I looked at it and I'm thinking, why did I bother? I have better things to do with my time than to watch some disinfo shill or whatever the situation is. Spend 2 hours of my time to say absolutely nothing and show nothing. And I will say also there was a release on the 21st of April of Keshi had put that meeting together, World Peace meeting in Italy, and they unveiled one of the units that he has built. Now, not to make less of Kesha here, but a couple of things. One, didn't show how it worked. Two, looked like something that had been put together in someone's shop. Yeah, I get it. If you want to talk 30 years research, it's going to be a whole lot better than what I saw based on what they were doing. I understand it was prototype, but if you're going to unveil something to the world, it better look a little bit cleaner than what they presented. It looked pretty cheesy, actually. So again, I'm always eyes open to the deceivers. And the deceivers, it will tell you in Revelations, if you understand the code book, it will tell you the deceivers will be everywhere. They're going to get you looking every direction but where you need to. And you are the 0-point energy. See, technology to me is a trap as well, in that we're trying to solve something outside of ourselves when, why would a God need that? You see, so that's where Tony and I, we work together in that regard, and we're slightly diametrically opposed on this concept, but it's a beautiful way to contrast it. I don't need teleportation devices once I, get me solved, because I am teleportation. I can be anywhere I want to be in the universe. I'm God, so that's where I'm working towards it. I don't need a machine, to crutch me on that, and that's all technology is. And we've moved into a very dark age with technology. You might want to stop and ask, why did Atlantis sink? Was there technology that destroyed them? Get into other topics on that as well, but that's just my viewpoint on it.
Yeah, well, one of the books that I read years ago, and I kind of recommend this for people to go and get it, and it's only about, I think it's about a 10 or something to buy, and I was told about it years ago, probably about 1997 was when I actually got it, and the book is called The Only Planet of Choice. And it has loads of information. It's got to do with a lady called Phyllis Schindler who was channeling entities, and she channeled this council of 9. Anyway, if you read the book, it kind of covers everything, or most things anyway. And it's very, very interesting read. And I've kind of, when I read it, I kind of looked, at the end of it, I thought, wow, this is kind of heavy stuff. But now, kind of thinking back on what I read, and I think, wow, there's a lot of this information has come from other sources confirming what she said. So, there's a lot. I don't know whether you guys have, and Kate, I don't know whether you've seen it, but Steve hasn't read the book, and either. I must give him a lend of it.
Yeah,
but
you must do that, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're not a book reader, though, sure you know.
No, I know how to read. I just don't get as much enjoyment out of it as a lot of people. Yeah.
Some people are readers, some people aren't. But, Kate, going back on the feminine and the masculine there, when you were talking about the kind of emotions versus the mind, I was thinking left brain, right brain.
Yeah, you can think that.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, having an issue with the mouse. Absolutely. Well, again, when you understand masculine is electrical intent, energy, and feminine is void creation, magnetism, then you start putting the 0 point together. You see, the 0 point for me is not going to be found outside of us. It's got to be found within us. You see, we have to get into that neutral 0 point. I'm a Hermeticist, as pure as the driven rain. The only truths that I've found have come the profound ones anyway, have come from that way of thinking. To me, when you're dealing left brain, which I write essays. By the way, if people want to get a better understanding of what I was talking about earlier, and we'll touch on it again maybe, just all you have to do now, thankfully, I think it was Bud put it up on Scribd. Just Google The Long and Short of It by Kate of Gaia. And the document, it's an essay. It's part of my ebook that's coming out, by the way. It's an essay outlining the fraud, how we got trapped into it, and to give you the concept of it. But getting back to the male-female, the left brain essay I wrote was Abel is a boy. It's not. Abel is a girl. Cain was the boy. Abel is the girl. And there are many layers to that story if you start looking into it, right? That's the Castor and Pollux of Gemini. That's what I am. Cain is left mind, masculine. Abel is right mind, feminine. And I'm glad you brought that up. So when you start seeing both sides of I use the coin as an example. If I toss a coin up and say heads or tails, you call one. When it hits the floor, let's say it's what you called. What is it? You'll say either they're heads or tails, and I'll say no, it's a coin. You see, and the head of the dragon or the tail of the dragon. You see the beast that money is? Heads or tails? Did you never wonder what heads and tails meant? Did you never wonder what the expression the long and short of it meant? That's the long form birth certificate and the short form. Long form is the fraud, and the short form is the corporate proof of that fraud. You know, and the trap has to be that which will set us free as well, because in every trap is the exit. It's up to us to find it.
Right. Okay. And how do you propose we go about sorting that out?
Well, that's kind of what I'm working on right now. That's the Unclean Hands document. That effectively, what we have to do is turn the tables over in the temple, and I mean that quite literally and figuratively. They meant it figuratively and literally in the Bible. When that same cool cat walked into the temple and turned over all the moneylenders' tables, shortly thereafter what did he get? Oh yeah, he got a trial, and then some guy washed his hands of him, and he ended up getting flogged and crucified. So, but I'll tell you, what he wouldn't do is he wouldn't speak, and he wouldn't give his name because he wouldn't defraud himself and be in contempt of the court. That's why Pontius Pilate had to wash his hands of him. And because the sleepy people were looking for blood, what did they do? Again, this is allegorical, metaphorical. They crucified him, right? You know, so these are very, very simple concepts once you start looking at them the right way. Unfortunately, we have been so distracted with the bread and circuses of this planet. Don't mind the trains. I'll mute out because it's going to go on for a second here. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight on it. I
always thought, obviously reading from the Bibles, Cain and Abel were two sons, two boys.
Well, yeah, that's what the lawyers. Woe to ye lawyers, for you have corrupted the truth. That's your priests, your clergy, your lawyers, your judges, your kings, your queens, and all the rest of it.
Okay, we'll pop up to Tony while the old train goes by. Choo choo, Thomas the Tank. Tony, what's your comments on what Kate is talking about there?
Well, obviously, basically she's got it right, but. Again, it's about lots of pieces of the puzzle. When you've put these lots of other pieces, you'll be able to see what the picture is. Kate's been working on this for over years, to be honest. But it's only very recent, well, not very recently, quite recently, when she's seriously managed to uncover the energy behind all of this construct with the words. In other words, if we look at the word license, right, it's a lie to your senses. You need to apply for a license to drive on the road. Well, what that means is it's stripping you of your God-given right to travel, because you don't need you're God and you're perfectly allowed to travel where you want to travel. And they've got all of these obstacles in the way, like licenses and permits and passports and all this documentation, which is all based on false identification, because you committed fraud by putting forward a birth certificate which isn't yours. So they keep everybody perpetually in fraud in order to find them and to give, to drag them into corporate disputes and all this sort of stuff. Well, if you actually go to a court and you represent and you get a letter and you answer this piece of paper by going to court, you're committing fraud, because as soon as you go in there, you're pretending to be involved in this dispute of whatever dispute it is. But you're thinking you are the piece of paper and you're not. And Kate will go into details on that because we've just been covering it.
Yeah, that is pretty much it. Bang on. I go back to a movie, Kramer versus Kramer. What's the logic in that? When you understand that the Crown owns the name, this is what we have to clarify. This is about, okay, well, fine. You want me to answer for something that isn't mine. I just need you. I need you to tell me that this belongs to me. And that's when you turn the tables on them. You see, because now what you're doing is you're forcing the hand of honor, and it can be one. You got to get the concept in your head first that you are not that name, and you better be able to stand in it. That's why the judge bowed, because I knew I wasn't the name. I didn't just think it. I didn't. I theorize it. Never. At that point, I knew, based on the being of who I was. No, that's not me. It never was. Sorry, you got the gender wrong. Tough luck. Talk about going deep undercover here. That's why he bowed, because he knew he was not ruling my feminine. He had to get out of court because he was in immediate contempt and dishonor. And that's why he bolted.
But some people say you shouldn't go to court in the first place.
Well, that's my point. You shouldn't. And the only reason I went there, and by the way, there was no ticket involved. I mean, the newspapers reported I got a parking ticket. No, I didn't. And apparently my ex-wife did too at the time. She hadn't been living there for a year. And well, of course, when you understand Tammy Pepperman's work, you'll understand that the female is the deposit on account. And that's where I tied it together with Tammy, because what her approach was she made Bo her executor, her daddy, as it were, so that she wasn't yielding to the daddy of the court, which is the system. I mean, when you understand that, they look at us as abandoned children. When you get a lawyer as a client, you become a child of the state. That's definitions, guys. You become incompetent. All right? There's a reason why they do this, because lawyers and attorneys and barristers and judges and everything else are all representing the patriarchal daddy of the system that is trying to control the divine feminine through the register. Right?
Yeah.
That's why they call it a cash register. They even own you there. Okay.
Okay.
That's why you don't vote. Only fools vote. Why? What is vote? It's volt with a silent L, because you're putting your energy into an election. So what you're doing is you're shunning your electrical. You're giving it away. You got to understand the words. As soon as you understand the trickery of the magi straits that work in these buildings, and very very few of them are actually in the know to this level. Okay, most of them are kept pretty much, doing their thing and chasing the almighty BMWs and the rest of the toys that these guys like to collect with their ridiculous per diems per day. But there's very few of them that actually know this. The guy that bowed to me, he's one of the ones that does. That I knew that day, because they brought him in special just for me. Based on the paperwork I put in ahead of that, they knew I knew who I was. So basically, when I looked at that guy, I could say this: I know that you know that I know who I am. Let's play. And that's the thing, is people walking in without that reality will get...
Yeah.
Is the audio gone again?
Okay, audio gone again. Tony, Kate, you there, Kate?
I'm here.
Oh, Tony. Okay, while Kate was talking about Tammy Pepperman, let's go down that road. Let's talk about the OPPT, because this came on to out in the open, should we say, a few months ago, at the start of the year, and everybody was singing the praise of the OPPT and the People's Trust, and governments are null and void, and banks and everything else. And then obviously I heard, and it all sounded fantastic. And then I heard the lady, I think her name is, you probably know her name, Tony, do you?
Which lady? Are you talking about Veronica Chapman, or?
No, Tucci.
Heather Tukey Giraffe, or whatever.
That's right, yeah. Well, when Heather came out and she was talking about the OPPT and when I got suspicious straight away when she said, "Oh, we had a meeting with the Rockefeller family," and straight away my senses went up, and I thought, look, at the end of the day, you don't want to be doing that. But obviously, that's when I kind of got suspicious. Then I heard the interview that Tammy Pepperman did regarding what Heather was coming out with, the universal law, and I got kind of, I listened to that and I thought, okay, so maybe we can get one of these ladies on and talk about it. And obviously, Tammy was going to be the lady of choice to get on. What's your take on that, Tony? What's your what have you gleaned from the OPPT?
We were some of the first people to be involved in trying to get the truth out about that, and it's basically the impression I mean, Kate will give you a far more detailed explanation on this, and she'll just rip to shreds. But the fundamental problem is that the OPPT is basically takes its power from the UCC, which is a Uniform Commercial Code. But what we're saying is, hang on a minute, the UCC is another law. It's a construct. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's fundamentally flawed from the start. And this is basically where we're coming from that. It's more trickery. They're trying to divert your attention from the truth, which is what we're telling you.
Okay, and the OPPT, as I say, when I first heard Heather talking about it, it sounded too good to be true, but then I got concerned because there's a group on Facebook called OPPT Opt-in, and I was thinking, why do you need to opt into it? Why do you need to opt in? It didn't seem to make sense. I don't know whether Kate is back there. Kate, are you back?
No, I think we've lost her. We're trying to get her back now.
We're just trying to get her back. Oh, we lost Kate there for a minute, Tony. But yeah, it seems very suspicious, Tony, that we they wanted us to opt in or sign up to it. And just a couple of things that they said was a bit concerning as far as I'm concerned. But so I've just kind of looked at the information, and I believe there's some people in Ireland looking at the paperwork as well as a possibility. But does UCC law apply over here? Will it apply? Does it the same with the UK?
Well, this is where we get into the what we were talking about before about the constructs. Uniform Commercial Code, yeah. You see, it's what people have got to realise. It doesn't really matter which country you're ideally looking at, because all of the countries operate under the same sort of system, and even the ones you think may not actually are all in bed together. They're in bed together for a massive reason, but anyway, we'll get to that in a second. The point is, it's all under Crown, and it's the Crown, it's the monarchies, what I'm looking at, but it's basically it's basically a system that has a monarch or a queen. It's a monarchy. But as I say, it is based on the Crown. But you see, the thing is, what they're really trying to hide, it comes back to the fact that we are run down here from out there, and they are out there with the technologies that they're hiding from us, like free energy, freedom to travel, space, literally UFOs that are just incredible. And they're keeping all of that away from us down here. And this is why the money is part of the construct as well. I mean, why should you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on? It's just not right. It's wrong. And that's the point. It's been made wrong. It's been constructed to be that way. So you need to ask, well, who's constructed it? And it's these very people, the eye of the pyramid, the people with these technologies, the industrial military complex, and the bankers, Jewish bankers and Jesuit people that have basically constructed all of this stuff for us to live under. And it's basically a sewer system, them. And that's exactly what they've done. They've assisted us with all these laws, legislations, and all of this. You must comply all over the place, and then you must have money to buy things. They've created money supply. It's all a construct.
Okay. I know what you mean. All right, Kate. Well, we have a couple of questions here. So, Steve, if you want to pass them off to Kate and see. Yeah,
Mick, one of our regular listeners on OYM, and actually, just briefly tell you, Mick is one of the good guys, and he also has his own show on an actual mainstream radio station as well. Mick will never be censored. But Mick is wondering, can we ask our guests... no, sorry, I'll reread that. This is one for Kate. Kate, do you have any full-length videos on YouTube discussing the word meanings? Because I know you were saying a lot about the meanings of different words there, and obviously it's caught my attention, and I'm guessing it's caught Mick's and a lot of other people's attention as well. So any full-length YouTube videos or ebook or something?
I've got lots of essays on that. You can go to Syncrenicity.com, check the archives there. Wordplay, you'll see it spelt like WHIRRED, stuff like that. But again, what I eventually got to was the reality that every one of these letters, never mind the words, every one of these letters has a very specific sigil meaning. And it's not about technologies controlling us. This goes far and above technologies. This is about, this is why I deal in the spiritual realms. This is about a dark principality using energies, and these energies are placed into the symbols, right? I spelled it CYMBALS. How did you spell it? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's about the sound. In the beginning there was the word, and the word was Y, which is the tree of life. It is the only letter that can be a vowel and a consonant at the same time. It is a duality, singularity, letter and word. So very key word in our alphabet. Yes, I've got lots of essays on that. I'll give you an example. If someone says to you, well, do you refuse a lawyer? And of course, what do you say? Well, no. Yes, of course I refuse a lawyer. Oh, so what you just did was, I don't know about you, but when I fuse things together, I join them, yeah? So if you refuse it, you've created rejoinder, right? And it's all about connecting you to, this is about circuits, guys, not circus, which is where we're living. It's circuits. Washington direct current. Understand and start looking with different eyes. Look at this as an electromagnetic universe, and you will see much more than what this facade has been laid before you. This is the shadow, the shade of creation. We are on the other side of the looking glass in the imagination of our self, singular, right? In the beginning, there was only the one. So here we are, all the different perspectives of, little sparks of the all-spark. So it's time to kind of bring all these sparks together so we can get a collective mind, not a hive mind. There's a difference. We retain our individuality, right, or our in-divine duality, which is separate and to be part of the whole at the same time. Everything is in a mirror here. So when you start looking at words properly, properly, right, pro for, p for, or per for, lee, calm side of the ship. Start listening to the sounds. They brought out Hooked on Phonics for a reason. Where do you think the word phonics comes from? It comes from Phoenicians. Phony, right? They're giving you a false impression. And again, good and evil at the same time. You can look at all this stuff going on as being evil, but it's also good in that it's waking you up. It's giving you something of a contrast to find that 0 point energy, which is you. It's not some teleportation device or spaceship or whatever. Quite frankly, those are archaic. That is old, and that is going in the wrong direction. That is going to the bow of the ship instead of going to the stern to escape. Poseidon Adventure was a good lesson there too. Stern, there's the word stir again. The letter N is a conjunctive letter. It is not anything but, it means mine, to make mine. So I'll give you an example. When the letter N was introduced, it was introduced between vowels. So you would look up in the sky and see a neagle, or you would look in a nest and see a neg. What happened over time was the N moved away from the vowel preceding it and following it, and went to the letter A preceding it. So it became an eagle, an egg. So when you look at the word stern, what that tells me very simply is this: I must bow to feminine mine.
Okay, can I ask you about the courts, where you have a district court, a circuit court, and a high court?
It's all church.
Right, they're all churches, are they?
Yeah, it's all church. Church and court are the same. Look it up. They're identical. Church, state. There is no separation of church and state. The term that you hear, the separation of church and state, doesn't mean to separate church and state. It means to separate yourself from it. See, because to have you with the UPU, Universal Postal Union, which is headed by the Vatican, And then you have the state, which is commerce, City of London state thereof, which is Uniform Commercial Code, UCC. So there is no separation from either of those entities. They get you with the deed poll, where they took their piece of paper and they put your footprints on it. With or without mom and dad's permission, didn't matter, because the name was already registered at that point. If you were in a hospital, you've already used a state prison ward, hospital ward, same thing. Again, you have to be very mindful. Look at your electoral districts, the ward that you live in, right?
Yeah.
I was born in a house in Belfast, but it was in a ward, and until you start understanding the layers and peeling them off, you won't find yourself. And what I'm trying to do right now is take a steam shovel to it to really, really expedite that process. And it boils down to one thing and one thing only. You are feeding the registered name all the feminine energy it needs to be monetized. And by the way, you know that when they create the bonds, that's where the UCC 3-419 hypothecation of signatures comes into play, which means hypothecation means they can reuse it whenever they want. And when you see a line where they have an X on it, do you know what the X means? No. Well, it means life itself. That's the letter Qi in Greek, and it's also pronounced Qi in Chinese, which is life. Where was I going here? See, this is a problem. There's so many things come out so fast.
Well, we have a question for you from one of our listeners. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, continuing on from the last question that Mick asked, Kate, he's also wondering, are you aware of Grant Morrison? He said Grant Morrison is a Scottish cartoonist, and he does.
Yes, I know Grant. He's a sigil king. Yes.
Wow, I was actually looking at that word here because Mick has it in the description or in his question, and I didn't know how to pronounce it. I was going to say sigil. So sigil. Okay.
They're sigils, and what they are, what you can do, and this is what they have done. What you can do with these sigils. You better be very careful, okay, because you're playing with energies you do not understand. They've been controlling you with stop signs and advertisements for the entirety of your lives. So treat these with the utmost respect, because we're dealing with very sacred geometry here. This is about removing it. Yes, I know who you're speaking of, and he's had some very profound experiences, has met some pretty dark entities as a net result as well. But what a sigil is when you take a word and compress it down into a shape, a symbol that you grant power to. Okay? And that is effectively what they've done with the spellings. They call them spellings for a reason, people.
Spells.
Right? Okay? And what have they done to you? They've got you looking. They stopped your listening. They made you look and be captivated with the spell. They made sure you spelled your words right. They made sure that you knew how to spell all the different right, and right. Okay? They made anonyms, synonyms, homonyms. It's masterful. It is absolutely masterful. I have nothing but awe and respect for these entities that duped us so in our face. It's stunningly beautiful once you catch a hold of it.
Okay, Steve, another question there for Kate?
All these homonyms and synonyms, and I'm getting a headache. I should have paid more attention in school. But Mick also wants to know, does the word department mean to take from the mind?
Oh, well, absolutely. Again, you can look at D from Dios, sound again, right? Dios, God, right? Part God mind. What they've done is they've compartmentalized you, right? Don't mind the planes, there's an airport nearby. But absolutely, when you start busting words apart, when you understand what a prefix and a suffix is, you start seeing words for what they are. I bet you didn't. Here's one. What was the gentleman's name? Mike?
Mick, yeah.
Mick. Here's one for you, Mick. What does the word process mean? You see, most people think it's something that, you do something in a certain order. That's the process of it. Well, let me tell you, it's two Latin words, for tax, right? Do you really want your due for tax in law? Because that's what they want you to do, and that's why they call for a recess, a retax, okay? That's, a cesspit, which is a tax pit. When you start understanding success, you might not want to be sucking tax anymore, because that's what you're doing. You're literally bleeding your fellow brothers and sisters on the earth, because money is created, that's where I was going, money is created off the bond, okay, at birth. They create these bonds because the energy of the feminine was given to it by magic spells. And don't kid yourselves, guys, this is not Kansas anymore. You are in Oz, full blown. All right, this is Harry Potterville. You're just missing it. I'm trying to wake people up to it. The money that is created off these bonds, typically just roughly $1 million or £1 million. Now, when you're talking about money, fiat paper currency, which is what they create with this, what you're dealing with is literal cannibalization of your fellow humanity. Ever hear the golfers that play skins game?
No.
The skins game? What are they going for? Money, right? Have you ever heard the expression, here buddy, skin me with a $5, will you? They mean it quite literally. You see, because that is the literal skin and flesh of your fellow man, because it was created off their life force on that bond. So there's where the paper over of the spiritual really begins. And when we change our intent, we don't have to do much. We just have to change our intent with this. What are we actually doing when we go out and buy trinkets? Well, we're trading off the life source of our fellow brothers and sisters for something that's going to end up in the landfill in 2 or 3 weeks because it was made in China. That's what you think of your fellow man. So might I suggest you stop playing with, I refer to commerce as the whore of Babylon. They say it very clearly in Revelations. And the mark of the beast, which is the name. Do you carry the mark of the beast? Yes, you do, because if you open your wallet and you have identification, id, entity, if you're carrying the other entity with you, that's why the cops can beat you up, and you can't say anything because you're already in dishonor, and that's why they get off the hook. It's exactly why. There is no other reason. Their dishonor is lesser than ours because we're willful in our act of going out and committing fraud. Once we understand that, well, that wasn't my intention. Well, of course it wasn't. You thought it was the thing to do to get a driver's license. You thought it was the thing to do to apply, beg, and plead for a job. No. You change the intent, you change the game. This is why they say, well, change your mind, change your universe. It is this simple when you understand that ye are gods, that ye are creation, that you are the most beautiful, powerful entity in this universe. I know you are because you're me. I look in my mirror and I can see you. You're beautiful. Time to get over yourself. Move along. Stop fighting like kids over Barbie dolls and Tonka trucks in the sandbox because your masters, and they are your masters until you get this, are just laughing at you and loving it because they want you to rotate another 25,925 years here in kindergarten. Are you ready for another go-round? Me? No, I'm out of here. Thank you very much. I made the best stop of last when I stopped here. I popped on this planet in Ireland, and I am so happy I did that. Beautiful place to end the game.
Excellent. Well, listen, Kate, I want to kind of talk about what you see, what's happening now with Tony as well. Just we're going to bring Tony in there. And Tony, give us, yourself and Kate, give us a sum up on what you feel is going down now and what you see coming down the line. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, okay. Well, we've got to mention this Boston thing because what you're actually seeing day by day, and if you're watching the television, you're not getting the right information, but what you're seeing is the bringing in of martial law under false flag terrorism. The government has obviously realised that the fact that we know there's a shadow government, that we know that, that they're hiding this technology, we should have free energy and everything's been constructed. So what they're doing, because the Americans have got guns, the only thing that they can do quick enough is to actually bring in martial law. So they're using these terrorist attacks to do that. We can see it if we just take 5 minutes and Google Boston and just look at some of the pictures that are going on there now. They're going to be trying to put more attacks out there so that they can move into more cities with more troops because the Americans have got guns. That's the point. That's why they're moving on America first. But again, it's basically they're bringing in martial law because if you've noticed one little fat kid over in the corner and he's got all the sweets in the middle of the playground and you haven't even got anything to eat and he's sitting there with all these sweets and he's like, well, they're going to come for me. And that's the point, because when the people wake up to the fact we've all been totally and utterly fooled and everything that we thought we were trained, we thought we were taught was conditioning, the people that are controlling this situation have to do one of two things, either take us all out or get us all chipped so that they can control the masses. Because it's the few that are controlling all the masses, and the masses are getting really wound up about it now. There's no money, and we are being controlled, and we should be free to travel the stars, and we're not. So we know who's got all the sweets, and it ain't us.
Okay,
and that was a beautiful play-by-play of fear porn if I ever heard it. It's all nonsense. I'll tell you something right now, and this is where Tony and I get diametrically opposed very quickly. Just erase everything that was just said there, because if you think of it, you've created it. Where attention goes, energy flows. My universe I create within. I don't look at the distractions. I understand where Tony's going, and I do get it. I don't live there. I choose a different reality. I choose to look at something of my creation, and I certainly don't have this nonsense in it. And what you're seeing is the physical manifestation of that spiritual intent. Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay, well that's fine. I mean, obviously, this is why we have you on, to give both your viewpoints on what you think is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Just go back over to Tony. Tony, where do you see, under the current situation, and what's happening in UK, Ireland, and Europe, and everything else, where do you see it going? Are we winning? Are we losing? What's happening?
No, we're winning, because that's why this is occurring, because they're really frightened. They're really frightened of us getting the truth, and the truth is the information we're giving you. And they're breaking it, really. But yeah, more and more people are waking up every day. They know it. There's not a lot they can do about it. They've tried everything that they possibly can. Wow, have they been busy. But no, we are waking up to the truth, and that's what's happening. Right?
Do you think 2013 is going to be the defining year that will actually, tip the scale in their favour?
Yes, absolutely. It's already happened.
It's been long in our favor. We just didn't see it. And like I said, I will say it one more time. What you're witnessing right now with all this apparent police state and all the rest of this fictitious play-by-play, it's all a bunch of actors. Not seeing the clue yet. I mean, it's all a bunch of actors doing these falsies. Take the hint. All the world's a stage. Sir Francis Bacon, a.k.a. Christopher Marlowe, a.k.a. William Shakespeare, whatever you want to call the entity, said all the world's a stage. Are you one of the actors, or are you one of the directors? I chose to be a director, and I choose my game. And what you're seeing is a physical manifestation of all the actors tripping over themselves, and we are awakening very quickly. And that dark part of us is manifesting itself out of existence, because the more evil presents itself, the more light gets shone on it. And I don't know about you, but if I remember correctly, a vampire in the sunlight doesn't last too long. And that's what we're dealing with. The vampires are coming into the sun now.
I do agree. I think that there's a massive push on at the moment. And what we need to do is just keep on pushing, keep waking people up, because we are on if we're not there, we're definitely at the top of the hill on a scale, and we just need to keep pushing to get that little bit more, and then it'll be just downhill after that, and then everything will just open up. And even in a pitch dark room, one match can light up the room. So we have to remember that light. We have to remember that. We have to just keep waking people up. It does get hard when you are in certain environments where you live, where people are not awake or they're ignorant to what's going on. And it does get difficult, and sometimes it does wear you down. But this is why it's important that people who are like-minded stick together and stay together and talk to each other, because we give each other strength to actually go on. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, are you familiar? I was going to say, are you familiar with the law of dominant frequencies?
No, go ahead.
See, I always mute out. As soon as I finish talking, I mute. Anyway, the law of dominant frequencies. For those that haven't seen the book, you might want to read it, pick it up, and start understanding how this universe works. You can get it online. It's a free download. The Kabbalion. It's, I believe, 58 or 59 pages of Wake You Up. One of the things that I do urge people to stop doing is stop trying to wake people up, because all you're doing is creating a negative energy of emotion. All you need to do is to be the energy of awakening. The moths will come to the light. It's a fact of nature. Watch nature, and you will understand how this universe works. The law of dominant frequencies, it works sort of like this. When you have a certain frequency that is dominant, what will happen is all the other frequencies in that area, in terms of musical instruments or whatever, will resonate to that frequency eventually. right? The easiest example to use is if you put, say, 100 clocks in a room all ticking differently. If you come back a few hours later, you will notice that every clock is clicking in unison. Because what happens there, and this is what's happening with humanity right now, this awakening is going to happen whether people want it or not, because we know we have to, and we all have that urge to awaken. Every one of us, even the dark principalities, this urge is there. What we're dealing with is one or two clocks that were very close in a resonant tick-tock that matched up. Then there was a third clock of those 100 that was very close to that, and it started to match up. And the more that match up with that tick-tocking, what happens then is by the end of a given length of time, doesn't matter, however long it takes, we're already there with our awakening. What happens then is every one of those clocks will come into unison with the dominant frequency that is set for it. This is why the dark principalities use our creative, divine, feminine essence of emotion, which means emotion, no motion, to stop us. And what we do is we get caught up in their fear porn. Fear porn, by the way, for those that haven't heard me say that, simply means something that is presented that has a negative message, might leave you with a feeling of depression, despair, anger, hatred or whatever, without any solution. That is fear porn. That is your meat stick media, mainstream media. Okay? So what we need to be mindful of, this, you don't have to wake anybody up but you. I'm trying to make your job easy, and because every time you're going out trying to slap people upside the head, radio shows are a prime example. Why are you listening right now? Did you make the free will choice to listen? Well, now you have the responsibility. Right? So you came because the light was there, and you, like me, the moth, we found the light and we lit our wings on fire, and all we have to do now is resonate that. And that's why our shows, for example, I'm sure yours are as well, are absolutely growing in numbers, because what is happening is the tick-tock is grabbing all the sleepies. You don't have to wake anybody up, because there's also another law called nature abhors a vacuum. And when a frequency is raised by 1 hertz, there's a void beneath it. What happens? Well, the next one below it gets sucked up into it. That's how this works. So all you got to do, you can do one of 3 things. You can either fist fight, which is there you're going mad with your emotions and you're out there fighting in the courts and you're saying that this government is that and all the rest of it and blah, 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 fear porn, fear porn, fear porn. Or you can hold the light. Or third option is carry out the dead, which means you're still asleep and you're walking around with a name tag and you're just hauling bodies. And that's where you'll find most of the cops, the judges, the lawyers, and what have you. Their job is mainly to carry out the dead. That's what they do. So there's your choices: fist fight, hold the light, or carry out the dead. I just chose to be the center cross, not one of the thieves on either side.
Okay, we have a question for you there, Kate. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. This may sound like a stupid question, but then again, someone said a long time ago there's no such thing as a stupid question. But this might be one of those. This is not one that was posted. This is one that just come into my head, and it's based on something you said earlier. We recently had a child, my wife and I. Well, she gave birth to a child. I played some small part in that. Well, not that small. It was a reasonably sized part. But we went through the proper channels. We tossed and turned about the whole registering of the name. But in the end, we saying that life can be very difficult, and we couldn't see a way of enrolling in school and all this, all this kind of thing that you have to go through without registering the name. And is there a way of not doing that? And if so, how easy or how difficult can life be? And the second part of that question is, can I go into a car dealership tomorrow if I had the money, buy a car without any license or anything like that, and just drive on the road? I know we have seen videos of this kind of stuff on the internet, freeman stuff, and then there's a lot of people who kind of say, oh, the freeman road, it's this, that, and the other. But from what you were saying, okay, it just sounds like that that we can actually do this. It just seems that we need to know how. Is that right?
Well, no, there's no way to do it, my friend. You're either with the Whore of Babylon or you're not. I'm not, and I will tell you, it's not an easy road. It is most certainly not an easy road because I don't have any bank accounts. I carry no ID. I do travel. I procured a traveling unit through a friend of mine out of necessity, but I'm traveling in honor now. And I also know how to handle myself that doesn't enter my universe because it's not part of my reality. This is the spiritual part that most people have such a hard time with. And what you just outlined is exactly what everyone has the biggest problem with, is how do we survive in their system? Well, without their system, well, you don't, unless you're very creative. And that's one of the reasons why I made the stand I did. I'm going to give you an example. It's right out of Black's Law for you. Okay? It's the one that really triggered everything for me. So I'm going to share this with you. It's the definition of Ward of Admiralty. I'm going to show you how they trapped us. It's quite brilliant, actually. As soon as my document opens up here, I did have it open waiting, so computer's a bit slow here. But anyway, the Ward of Admiralty was the one that really triggered it for me, to show you the contractual nature of the spiritual, how it got papered over using legal. And as soon as it opens up here, it's almost there. Maybe not.
That's a slow computer you have there.
Well, it's a notebook, and I grind this little computer into the dirt. I assure you. Okay, here we go. Ward of Admiralty. Now, pay attention to the sounds. This is what if there's anything I'm going to hopefully get across and teach today, and I don't want to sound like I'm teaching. This is something I had to learn, so sorry, I'm the proverbial student at all times. The best students are the ones that try to teach it. Okay, here we go. Ward of Admiralty. Listening. Key. A seaman. Sound like another word you might know? All right. A seaman, so called because of the legal view that a seaman in contractual matters should be treated as a beneficiary and the other contracting party as a fiduciary because of the perceived inequitability of their bargaining positions. Now I'm going to tell you who Mom and Dad are. Well, of course, Dad's the seaman, right? So he's the beneficiary. Because Mom had to be the fiduciary because there is a perceived inequitability because Mom spent 9 months building the baby. That's where the bonds come into play. The 1, 2, 3, the bid performance payment. All right? Or in Canada, it's called labor bond. What does Mother have before she gives birth? She has contractions. Okay? Because she's in labor. Right? What we're dealing with there, and of course, the bid was, of course, you, Stephen, talking to the missus saying, listen, let's have a kid, and, well, she knows she's got to go through 9 months of building it, and there's a lot of responsibility on the female side. It's not just, a quick slam dunk like Dad can have. Mom's got a whole different game to play here. That's why she carries the fiduciary role. She built it. You're the beneficiary. And because she took your name on, she gave up her right to be that, right? Well, she gave it to the state, actually. She still is, but you got to know who you are here. So by taking on the surname, what she has in effect done when she got married was she said, okay, the state owns that name because it's the male, and I'm going to take on that name. That's why they pulled this ruse, okay? These were all very tricky little traps for us to get into, unbeknownst, thinking that that's kind of cool. I'm going to honor my husband by taking on his last name. No, what you're doing is you're dishonoring yourself, right? By taking on a name. The family names, by the way, were the first ones to get enslaved. My family clan, I came from the Thompson line, which our family motto was Noscati Ipsum, know thyself, and we're nobility as lawgivers and lawkeepers and lawmakers. Right, that was the role. Funny thing, I'm doing what I'm doing right now. It's kind of in the blood, isn't it? So don't knock your DNA. There's a reason why you had a family name. Figure out who your family is and start knowing thyself. But here, I know what you're saying, Steve, and it's not an easy one. No, it's not. What's going to have to happen here is we have to take the whole house of cards down, because until that whole house comes down, people like me, we are clinging to survival on a thread. Same with Tony. Same deal.
Yeah, okay. No, I think obviously, it's amazing that the word games that they play, and Black Star Dictionary, we just had a request from Mick, wanting to get your details, which we're going to get off you shortly. Guys, we have about 5 minutes left, okay? So I'd like to get a sum up between Tony and yourself, Kate, for what you see in the next few months happening. So I'll go over to Tony first. Tony, what do you see in the next?
Sorry, can we just ask if they can tell us like what should we be doing as well?
Yeah, well, okay,
because
yeah.
We don't have the answers.
Yeah. There you go. So Tony, what should we be doing, and what do you see happening in the next few months?
What we should be doing, the very first thing that I've really honestly got to say is research this stuff, you know. It depends, you might be into one particular aspect over another, so pick one. Pick a subject that you're really interested in and research the heck out of it. Turn the TV off and start educating ourselves to the truth. I mean, it might be medicine, it might be physics, it might be anything. You might want to grab a copy of the book, Blueprints of Cosmic Consciousness. That's absolutely jam-packed with different subjects. You can pick one. You know, but it's above all else, you've got to start learning about this stuff, because it's us who's going to set us free. It's not going to be your government. You know, the government is to govern the mind, the mentality of the masses. It's not going to be the industrial military complex. It's going to be us. We're the people. We're the power. You know?
Okay.
So what we need to do is educate us so we are able to actually make the change in the world that we want to see.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to be the people that will make the change, not the actual government. Kate, what do you think?
Okay, well, I won't even bother to say about the next few months. What I'm going to talk about is what you need to do right now, because there is only now. Everything is pre-sent. For those that want to get a hold of me, you can catch me on Facebook at kate.rene.5, KATE.RENE.5, and you'll find me quite sociable. Also on Skype, you can reach me at katie.rene.thompson, which is KATIE.RENEE.THOMPSON. So I'm very accessible, and don't forget, what we got here, come up to 4 o'clock, in 3 hours, I'm going to be on the air talking about this stuff in even greater detail tonight. That will be my third show. I was on one before this, so anyone that wants to tune in or contact me for any documents, I've got essays coming out in an ebook that really is not that big. There's not a lot of research. This is about resonance. You don't need to waste a lot of time on the research. We've done it, okay? Verify it as you will. Do not take anything I say as truth. It must resonate with you. Only truth resonates. And I don't care what you believe, because truth doesn't require that. What you need to do is look. And what I can offer is what I have found, and it has come at great expense, on a very spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental level. And I just don't want to see this beautifully set table waiting for people to belly up for the feast go to waste. It's yours. It is a gift. Look up the definition of gift. There is no consideration in this. This is yours, if you wish it. And if not, that's fine too. I'm still going to be a light, and eventually your butterfly or moth wings will come to that light. You don't have a choice. We are the dominant frequency now.
Okay, and Steve, do you have any questions? There was another question there, wasn't there? About Richard.
Richard's question, yeah. Richard was wondering, Kate, can we ask you what's the end goal of the elite? Or the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them?
Oh, another go-round. They're loving this. They're loving the ability to keep this going around and around and around. Remember, creation is circular. That's what the letter O means. That's why we refer to it in Ireland. O'Malley means the son of Malley, right? Okay, yeah. So they want another go-round that they can keep control of and maintain this little illusion that we've got going. I, on the other hand, am a little tired of this dream, and it's time that I wake up and move on to a higher level game, yeah?
Okay, well that's like Bill Hicks. He mentioned something like that you're on a fairground ride, and all you have to do is get off it, you know? Which is he's a great way of putting it. But listen, guys, I think it was fantastic that the two of you came on. Thanks a lot for coming on to the show and giving us your feedback on what you think is happening and what's going on, and all the information about the law. Much appreciated. I'm going to pass you over to Steve, and Steve will do the roundup on all the websites and contact details and radio show dates and times and stuff like that. So thanks again for myself.
Jeez,
thank you.
you're giving me a lot to do, aren't you?
Of course, yeah.
Radio shows and time. Yeah, no, it's been brilliant information. As I've heard some of this information before, but there's a lot of what you both of you touched on, especially UK tonight. There's a lot of what you touched on that I haven't heard before, especially all the information in relation to the words. And I mean, I knew there was kind of double meanings to some words, but the way when you're breaking it down, some of the words have double and treble meanings, and it's just it's a lot for me to take, and I've got a headache.
Well, here, just in a nutshell, remember this: every word you utter has its equal and opposite meaning. They both mean what you're saying, and they both mean the opposite as well. That's the trickery of the courts. But once you realize this, the spell is broken. It went down to the flower of life itself. Every letter, number, symbol created came off the flower of life, and you can't copyright creation. Sorry, we own that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, come here, can you just for the listeners and anyone who's late tuning in, we have them up here on the web on the chat box here, the different websites. But can I just ask you just to maybe throw them out there again? Sure.
Syncrenicity is our main site. You can get to all the radio shows. I will say this, and people keep asking me, are you on tonight, Kate? Of course I am. I am on the air 7 nights a week, which is midnight to 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard where I am, about an hour from Toronto. And Syncrenicity.com, that's SYNCRENICITY, has the links to the shows, has links to everything. We're on Critical Mass Radio Online. We run the sister platform to criticalmassradio.co.uk. And like I said, we run 7 nights a week, and I run multiple times a day depending on who calls and wants me yapping. And again, and my apologies to the audience. I will warn you ahead of time, though, on my shows, anything goes. I'm kind of known for potty mouth, so it's because of my passion. I understand what the words actually mean, and there's no such thing as a curse word. Sorry, see how they got your emotions and all that too. So I speak freely because I have no consideration on tongue pledge, langage, language anymore.
No, that's okay. It's just that obviously we go it as a family show.
I know, I get it. And it's a timing thing with me as well. It's a 5-hour difference, and it's supper time. Better not Sunday night. This is Disney night, you know. And all that.
you know what I
mean.
I
do like to put that out there, and it is an apology, and it's not, because I speak freely, and I speak because I know what the words mean.
Yeah.
That's it. And by the way, the two most fierce words that in the vocabulary are ancient Tibetan sounds of love. That's why they turned them into curse words. They put them in the mirror, so they got you hating the word love. Remember that. Mirror, mirror on the wall, give me a match and watch Rome fall. Promise. House is coming down, boys and girls. They built it on sand, and it's made out of cards, and I'm a big bad wolf.
Okay. That sounds good. Tony, what about yourself? Anything to add?
Again, same sort of things before. We've got the website front page, Syncrenicity.com, has got lots of headlines, and we've been researching a lot of information, and that's the first place where you're going to get the latest information when it comes out. So, Syncrenicity.com, there's archives, there's lots of information inside the site, and, radio shows, chat rooms, all sorts of things. So the archives are there with loads and loads of Kate and mine materials are in there as well.
Brilliant. Can I make one more little comment? Just trying to remember what I was wanting to say there. It was very important. I can't remember what it was now. I'll remember tonight. But anyway, it's going to drive me nuts. It's very critical to... it doesn't matter. I'll remember it as soon as I get off the air.
Sure, you send us a jump on the chat, and if you remember in the next 10 minutes, let us know. All right, guys and girls. What I'm going to do is...
Just one last comment. Kate, Chris just wrote in on the chat box here, and he said, you sound like you'd be great crack on a pub crawl in Dublin.
Oh, no doubt. I love... give me a Guinness. I will indulge in poison. And it's funny, you just said Chris, and I remembered what I was going to say. Here's... you'd said earlier, Steve, this was a comment you made about you were hearing things that you'd never heard before.
Yeah.
Here's the difference. And this is for everyone out there. Chris, I'm a hoot. Take me out partying. I got my dancing heels on, and look out, we have fun. Gemini, go figure. The thing is, Steve, what we've all been doing for so very long hasn't worked. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. I just decided to go 180 degrees from what everyone else was doing and say, no, not going there, I'm going here. And this is why what you're hearing is probably you haven't heard this stuff for the first time in a very, very long time, but it resonates. That's why.
Yeah, definitely. It does start making sense. Alright guys, we're going to go off to a musical break. We'll be back after this. Stay with us for a minute.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMIreland.com, CNSRadio.me.com and ICRadioNetwork.com.
Born to be Wild, OYM Radio. Yes, a bit of Steppenwolf there. I love that song. Anyway.
Excellent. Okay, so the great guests, Tony and Kate, telling us all about the law and the bigger picture and what's going on. I do think that we are on a tipping point for 2013, that we have to keep pushing. And, you know, it does wear you down when there's people around you who are just ignorant to what's going on and they're just watching the EastEnders and their soaps and everything else and they just don't get it. So, you know, we just have to keep pushing, you know. They will finally get it. Hopefully they'll finally get it. Anyway, we don't need everybody woken up. We just need a good percentage of the people woken up. But just something I noticed the other day, and I just thought I'd share it with people. I was down in the local shop doing a few bits, and we do know that there's a little bit of a protest going on with our Gardaí, who are the police over here in Ireland. And fair play to the Gardaí for doing it, because they're protesting about the cuts and they're being affected as much as we are. And one of the Garda cars that was actually parked up, I noticed, but as I was walking to my vehicle, is that they didn't have any NCT in the window and they had no insurance document in the window either. Now, I wasn't close enough to check the tax disc, but I do know that they're not renewing. I was told the other day that a bunch of Gardaí motorbikes did turn up and parked up, and the person I was speaking to noticed that the tax discs were either missing or out of date. And this Garda car had no insurance and no NCT. And I obviously know, I think the law is that you have to have your insurance and NCT presented on the glass. So you took out your clamp? So I was going to take out my camera and take a picture. So just in case it gets stopped and go, you see that? That's breaking the law. That would be hypocrisy, you know. But no, they are kind of demonstrating and doing that because of the cutbacks they're suffering as well. So, you know, we're all going through it. We're all being affected by it. But another thing, very quickly, that I come across looking at the time, I went and seen the new movie Iron Man 3 with my son because he's a big Iron Man fan, and they talked about in the movie DNA and parts of your DNA that's missing in your brain, and that obviously needs to be activated or that needs to be filled. Then the story was of a false terrorist, a terrorist that was made by somebody else to fool the people into thinking that this was person bombing things when it was somebody else behind it. Yeah. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it?
It bloody does. I mean, as you said before, keep an eye on the time. I think it was a pastor, Lindsay Williams, who someone did ask earlier, can we get him back on? We're in constant communication. Well, not constant communication. He does communicate with us at least once a week, if not once a fortnight, and he sends us over a bit of information. And I know Alan does be back and forward with emails to him as well, where he will be coming back on the show. But he did say that when they're making these Hollywood films, that they put it right in front of your face. They show you exactly what they're doing or what they're going to do, because as he said, some of these elite, as he always said, some of these elite, they have a conscience, and they put it out there, they let people know, and then these terrorist attacks happen, but it's been explained in the movie as to how it's going to happen, blah blah blah, so their conscience is clear. Well, that's what he said about some of the older members of the elitist culture, or whatever you want to call them.
The other thing I want to quickly mention was a documentary. I'm beginning to watch Russia Today an awful lot. And one of the documentaries I seen this morning was the thing about, would you believe they call it the Republic of Texas? It's the only state in America that's not under federal government, apparently. And they're actually printing their own money, and they have their own governor and courts and judges and everything else. So go into Google and type in Republic of Texas, and the guy actually was in the office, and he had this mural on the wall, And he started talking about the New World Order, the Illuminati, there's the sheep, they're not woken up, they're the people in control. And literally everything that we talk about the people in power, you know, the sheeple and all that, and the NWO, Illuminati, he was talking about was in this mural. And I thought, fair play to you, these guys know exactly what's going on, and they want the Republic back. They want the Republic of Texas under their rule and not under the federal jurisdiction. So that was a very interesting documentary that I watched on Russia Today. And it was just brilliant to see mainstream TV, like Russia Today, having documentaries on where these people are actually talking about stuff what we talk about. You know, it seemed weird. Because normally you're watching Edge TV or controversial TV.
Yeah.
And they have the programs on, you know, Edge Media and stuff. But this was actually on Russia Today, and this guy was actually coming out and talking about what we talk about. So I found that quite interesting. But Republic of Texas, if you Google it, you can actually have a look at what they're talking about. Next week, very quickly, we have a chap on called Jerry Flynn. And Jerry Flynn is a retired captain in the Army, and his expertise was microwave technology. Similar to Barry Trower, but a different area. And we're going to be talking about smart meters and all the dangers of that technology, and Jerry's in Canada. So we look forward to speaking to Jerry. But, Steve, do you have any information on what Vin is doing?
You've left me with about 55 seconds. I don't know who Vin has on tonight, but any of the regular listeners, if you want to hear more mind-opening, altering, expanding information, tnsradio.ning.com, you can log on there. Or if you listen on the TNS stream, you don't even have to do anything. The head honcho recently in Nestle said water should be privatised. It's not a right. So you know, if anyone has heard that, maybe a good thing to boycott some Nestle products. And there was something else I was going to say there, but it's gone out of my head. It was a comment on something you said.
Motor vehicle rather than vehicle, motor car. Yeah, I got that.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, sorry, John. The state vehicles are exempt from showing insurance and NCT and all that carry on.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I should have checked the tax list then. That would have been of interest. Okay, well, listen, it's that time. We have to go. Have a great week. Stay safe. Any information and links, send them over to us. And anything at all, let us know. So, you know, take it easy.
Yep.
And we'll chat again next week. For myself, Alan James, good night.
And for myself, Stephen George, good night from me. And don't forget, bumper stickers still available, 5 for a fiver. Look them up on the website. See you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Open your mind.